Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Purpose Driven. I'm your host, Ashley Zettel, and today I have a guest with me. I picked him up on the side of the road. Everyone say hi to my dad.
Hi, how's everybody doing?
Great. You know what today is?
Today would be April Fool's Day, right?
Yes.
April Fool's Day.
Do you know what we're talking about today?
Foolishness.
You're so smart.
I try.
Yes, we will be talking about foolishness and how to stay on the right path and not be led or become a victim of foolishness, if that makes sense.
It does.
So,
does.
so I have a verse. I'll read it, and we'll both give our little opinion on it. So my first verse is actually going to be Proverbs 14:9. I feel like Proverbs, just the whole book of Proverbs, really talks about wisdom in general and knowledge, and we all know that the beginning of knowledge is fear of the Lord, and it talks about foolishness too a little bit. So
yeah.
But Proverbs 14:9 says, "A fool makes a mockery of sin." Have you ever felt like you made mockery of sin?
I feel like sometimes it's not just making a mockery. You try to justify it in your own way. I think a lot of the times we as man try to justify our actions, especially when we act in foolish ways. All right? So, yeah, I would say somewhat you make a mockery of sin by doing that, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like just like me and Benji, my last show, had talked about, like music, maybe sometimes the clothes you wear, and it becomes almost like, not like a mockery, but like just a natural, like, just becomes a part of your life, and you don't want that to be how your relationship with Christ is just a one-way street. It's kind of like my relationship with you as my dad. Like, it shouldn't be a one-way street. It shouldn't be I just do everything, or it shouldn't just be you do everything.
Yeah.
But it's, both like you guiding me and me following, just like how the Lord says, or Jesus is our shepherd and we're his sheep and we're supposed to follow him.
Yeah.
Do you have any verse you want to share?
I do, and it kind of plays right into what you were saying. Proverbs 12:15. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice. And again, what I get out of this is how very often we try to justify our actions. And, there's been times, I'm sure, in everybody's life where we sit down and we say, oh, we know what we're doing or what we've done doesn't really line up or align with what we should be doing as followers of Christ. And we try to justify it or say that we'll make up for it in some way, shape, or form down the road. And that's obviously a very big act of foolishness, because first and foremost, tomorrow isn't guaranteed, number one, and you always want to be on the right side with God and Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah.
And you want to always act wisely, right? You want to make sure you're acting wise and following the path that we should be following, right? And leading, right? Being a light. So when you're trying to justify actions that are not necessarily going down the right path or following the right path, I mean, that's a form of foolishness.
Yeah.
And it has long-term effects.
To go off of that about how fool is right in his own eyes, me and my brothers, Sean and Andrew, we're reading Genesis right now, and it's talking about Noah's Ark and how when God had told Noah, build this ark, two of every kind, of animal, male and female of every animal, and warn the people. And Noah warned the people that there was this flood coming, and they all acted like fools. They all were so concerned with, because at the time there was never rain brought upon the earth. And they were all just like, no, we're not going to go. And that's an act of foolishness. Was they knew God was, they believed in him, but they just didn't believe in, the God's not going to bring a flood. He loves us. So
I actually, if I can, I would love to read my second verse if I can, because it aligns with what you're saying. Mark 4:19, but the worries of this life, the deceitfulness of wealth and the desires for other things come and choke the word, making it unfruitful. And that is what you're saying, essentially, if I'm understanding it correctly, about Noah's Ark, right? The people that were being warned were more concerned about what worldly things that they were trying to hold on to, right? Wealth in that time, drinking, womanizing, so on and so forth. So again, another what I would call trick, right? And act of foolishness, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, that was great. We're going to be right back. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. If you see this lovely shirt I'm wearing, please go get your OVM Smart Store merch. Thank you, OVM, for sponsoring this video.
Hey everyone, Benjamin here from OVM. In this time of year, we always like to show how much we love each other, and what better way to spread love than with products that share the words of the one who loved us first, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Shop products like these and many more at ovmsmartstore.com. God bless.
Welcome back. I hope you guys all got your OVM merch. I sure did, and I have a bunch behind me if you guys want to look. My next Bible verse is in Psalms, and it's Psalms 14:1. It says, "A fool says in his heart that there is no God." Now, when I was reading this verse, I actually read this a while back when I was sitting in my bed one day, and I was thinking to myself, I don't think in this verse that it's actually, I think you have to read between the lines in this verse. I don't think that what God is saying is, oh, if you believe in God, you're not a fool. No. I think what he's saying is if you truly believe in him and you follow him and you're trying your best in your every single day, like you are trying your best just to be with him and in his presence and putting him at the number one, then you're not a fool. But I feel like people will take this verse and say, oh, well, I still believe in God, so that makes me, I'm fine, I'm not a fool. Yeah. Which I don't think that we should take for granted, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, kind of dovetailing off of that, I had a conversation with one of your teammates from volleyball, and it was actually somewhat enlightening because we sat back and we talked about how there are a lot of believers, but not everybody is a follower. And that is an act of foolishness because think about it, if you're sitting there and you believe, right, and we believe that one day there's going to be Judgment Day, right?
Yeah.
And that, you know, there's going to be what perceivably is the end of times from a humanly or a world perspective. Why aren't we following? I mean, or do we live blindly, intentionally? It's a scary thought process, right? So, yeah, to your point, I think that it's not a function of whether you believe or not. It's also a function of, you know, what it's speaking to, whether you're a true follower of God.
It's hard because I also feel like there's points where people would also like say, like, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And when Jesus was dying on the cross and there was, both of them were sinners, but there was, I believe it was Barabbas, who was it?
He was on the cross, yeah.
He was the one who was...
The thief.
The thief. And one had said to him, if you're Jesus, then why don't you, take us down from here and make this all go away? And then there was the one who was on the other side of him who had said, just remember me in your kingdom. Yeah. And it's kind of like, well, he didn't have faith until the last second. So it's kind of like that.
But he was saved.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that. Do I need to have, I feel like faith, once you get it, it's just something that you need to keep it with you. And most people don't find it, I feel, until later in their life when it's, getting close to their...
Yeah. What I would say to that, though, is I think sometimes that story also gets misconstrued because a lot of people look at it like, well, I can wait till tomorrow. And I'll pick up my cross tomorrow.
But that's manipulative, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but and that's kind of where I'm going with it. That is foolishness because, again, what I said earlier, there is no guarantee for tomorrow. Why wait till tomorrow? Start now, right? I mean, we've had this discussion a number of times. I mean, the way it's changed our lives, right? And it's changed others. So I would say let's not wait till tomorrow. Let's not be foolish, right? Let's pick up our crosses today and let's follow in the Lord's footsteps today. And there's nothing, a relationship with Jesus changes everything, right? And I think that's where to start, right?
Yeah. Like you said, picking up your cross. I actually saw like an analogy the other day. I think my mom had showed it to me, or maybe it was a friend. But it was a was like a little stick figure, and he was carrying a cross, and every time he didn't feel like actually, doing the will of God, the cross would get shorter and shorter. And then when it got time to cross this bridge, his cross wasn't long enough to cross over, if that makes sense, the bridge. Because the cross, he had just basically cut the whole thing, and he didn't have any more to get him over to the other side to where Jesus was. So I feel like...
Oh, sorry.
You say something?
No. Finish.
You finish. You go.
What I was going to actually say is I was going to bring it to actually probably one of the most famous stories in the Bible in Matthew 26 and 27 where Judas betrays Jesus, right, for money. I mean, if there's any bigger or greater act, I don't think there's any bigger or greater act of foolishness that we could talk about of all time, right? So that also is the flip side of what we're saying about not only moving from foolishness to finding Jesus in the Lord, right? But also you can go backwards if you don't stay on that path, right?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I want to say. If you're on that path, we have to be strong-hearted and stay there, strong-minded. And that comes with wisdom, which is accepting, right?
Yeah,
wisdom starts and knowledge starts with God.
Fearing
right?
God.
So...
Well, we will be right back to talk about more foolishness. If you haven't gotten your OVM merch, go get it now. This is your second chance. No more chances. Welcome back. I hope you guys got your merch. Now, we're going to listen to my dad's beautiful testimony.
My testimony.
He feels like sharing.
Oh, yeah. Really simple. I grew up Roman Catholic in New York, and I would say that I never felt a true relationship with the Lord. When we moved here to Florida, we found a church that actually... it was a Bible study or a Bible reading church that taught me more than I could even shake a stick at, but also gave me that relationship. It wasn't so much about traditional items. It was more along the lines of actually developing a relationship with God and having time to pray and worship and really understanding and valuing that relationship and understanding what it really meant versus memorizing prayers and certain actions when going to church. And one of those things is when you think about it, right, like everybody is, hey, let's go to church on Sunday, or we have to go to church on Sunday, and you go for an hour, and then after that hour's up, you leave and you kind of go back to your everyday routine.
Yeah.
And that was the norm for me for a really long time. And then my eyes were open because I was pretty much walking blind for so long that it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm very convicted about the way I raise you and the way I raise your brothers in conjunction with your mother. And it's the center of our lives now as opposed to a piece of our lives.
Yeah, it's become like, I feel like a thing is like once you accept Jesus Christ, it's just every single day. It's like always on my mind is when God's coming back, am I ready?
Are you ready?
Am I prepared for when? I'm not worried about anything else. I'm not worried about no offense, I'm not worried about you. I am worried about you, but I'm worried about, because I can't help you unless I know that I'm saved.
Yeah.
I don't want to give, false teachings or anything like that. But yeah, I just feel like it's something that it's always on my mind is like, am I ready? Am I doing the right thing? I had a conversation with my friend the other day about, it's kind of like, she was telling me, like, every day you're building basically your path. It's in your hands. It's in yours and God's hands. But you have to build it when you're doing things, you have to think to yourself, is this going to lead me to where I want to be? My mom always says the same thing, heaven over Harvard.
Yeah. I would also say that you're building it on a strong foundation made of rock, as opposed to if you're doing it in a worldly way, you're making it or building it on sand, right? And it's easily knocked over, right? It's temporary. As I said, our pastor made a really great analogy one time, and that analogy, as you recall, was the rope. This is eternity, right? This rope represents eternity, and this little sliver over here that we act is so important from a worldly perspective is what is going to dictate our eternity. Wouldn't you rather put in the, if we're lucky, 70, 80 years of good, solid work so that eternity for us is everlasting and beautiful, right? And you spend it with the Lord. Like, to me, that changed my thought process on a lot of different things.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, it's scary to think about, like, eternity. Like, I think a day is long. I get to the end of the day, I'm like, man, that was a long day. I just can't wait to get in bed. And that's, like, the best feeling for me is, like, getting in bed and being like, man, my feet hurt, but I'm in bed.
I like sleep, too.
Yeah.
I overslept today.
Imagine eternity. Man, that's crazy.
Eternity.
Yep.
Yeah. But what better way to spend it with God, right? Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah,
right?
It is. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today. You actually know what was really foolish the other day, or I was shocked. UConn beat Duke.
Yes.
Get a round of applause for that.
I'm a huge UConn fan, and the Duke Blue Devils went down.
That was crazy.
Yes.
That was crazy.
Intense form.
I wasn't even in the house for that. I was walking my dog, and then I walked into the house, and my brothers ran across the kitchen, dove over the couch. The dogs were barking. You were screaming.
The dogs are huskies.
Mom was confused. Mom was like, "What just happened?"
It's a good time.
Yeah, that was a good family moment. That will definitely always be in the back of my mind when
For sure.
UConn beat Duke to go to the Final Four again. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you, OVM, for sponsoring this video.